Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to share with you the differences between the Japanese and the English versions of the Hobonichi Cousin as well as the weeks. Now there will be timestamps for all of this in the description, so feel free to go ahead and check that. We will of course begin with the cousin and then move ahead to the weeks. Now the major differences are pretty clear from the name itself. Of course the difference is in the language, but there are minor things that pop up as we go through the planners. But to make it more clear to those who do not know much about the Hobonichi Cousin, there are things like the Japanese version having a lot of English in it, so even if you wish to use that, you could continue using that. So let us go more into detail as we flip through the planner. Now from the cover itself you can see one major difference, which is the color of the writing. So for the Japanese version, which is my current planner, I have the writing in the gray font, while here you can see it is in the yellow color as such. Now let's go inside. Now more or less the rest of it remains on the same side. I just tried to get the camera closer, so I hope you can see better the writing as such. Now when we come to the yearly spread, you can see that a lot of things are not there, like all this writing that is there is not there on the English one, and here we have the translation this year, okay, clearly given. And as far as all the months that are given over here, it is important to note that all the names of the months have been given in English, which is clearly not present in the Japanese version. They are just numbered over here. And similarly we have the days clearly mentioned as well, so Monday to Sunday, while here that is not the case. We do not have it in English, but at the same time it is pretty easy to understand them because the weekends have been highlighted in a different color, so you can kind of guess the days even if you do not know what exactly is written over there. Now of course for people who already know to read this should not be an issue. This is more or less the same on the right hand side as well. As you can see over here, the previous year and the next year have been given, and it has been mentioned over here clearly, and all this writing has been skipped on the English version. Now same like the current year, we can see here that all the months have been mentioned in English, which is not over here. Here just the numbers have been given. Similarly the days of the week are also given in the English alphabet, which you cannot see over here, which I do not feel is a big deal, but since we have an English version, it is great to have it completely in English. Now as we come to the index page, okay, so this would be the index page. Again you can see that this writing which is given over here, which I have no idea what it is not there on this side. And as far when we come to the months, so the months are mentioned in both places in English, but here it is on a bigger font size, while here it is extremely small and towards the right hand corner. And this takes center place, the number as well as the letter, as you can see, while there is the letter here as well, but towards the left hand side in a smaller font. So you can see that the priority is obviously to English over here and here to the Japanese language, but at the same time there is a mixture of English and Japanese in both, so you are not completely missing out on the other language as such. Now when we come to the numbers, of course the format largely remains the same. Again the only difference is that you have the days clearly mentioned over here in English. I'll just get it a little closer to you in case you cannot see it. See that? Of course in the Japanese version that is not the case. The days are not given in the English version, so you have to make a guess. But again, because it is color coded, it is not really difficult to understand as such. Now let us go ahead to the monthly spreads. I'll just take a random blank monthly which I have not used. Okay, we'll go to this one. Okay, now as far as the monthlies are concerned, again you can see in the English version that thankfully the month is actually highlighted in a big font. Now this I enjoyed simply because over the years I hated the fact that the month is extremely tiny, okay, in the Japanese version. It is given in English of course, okay, as you can see November is mentioned, but it is very small. I remember last year I used to actually write the month all over again on my own so that it stands out. Of course the number is quite big, but I would prefer the name of the month to be, you know, the highlight as such. Then of course we have the year. As far as the day titles come, Again, the font is very big for the English version, while it is on the smaller side for this one. But in both cases, you can see kanji given over here. So that is also present in both the planners. Now, once we go into the actual months, okay, the days that are given over there, you can clearly see that the English has a cleaner look. It seems a little more on the blank, empty side for some reason, and that is because of two reasons. One, they have not marked any holidays in the English version. So you can see here the holiday has been marked or highlighted in this form in the Japanese version, which is no longer present in the English version, which I feel is a great pro. I do not like holidays given on my planners, whether it be any form of holidays, because I feel that holidays are not applicable to everyone. It depends on where you work or in which country you're in. So I'm actually grateful that the holidays don't stand out. If at all I need to, I can add them on your own as such. Another reason it has a more cleaner look in the English version is simply because all these smaller writing that you see on the right hand side again is not there in the English version. As of otherwise, the planner more or less remains the same, with the weekends being highlighted in this color as such. Now let us quickly jump into the weekly spreads. Now again over here, what is important is that the names of the months is highlighted. So October is clearly in a bigger font, while here we have the number, which is in a larger font. And of course here one more thing that is there is that for the 6th week, okay, the week which we are on is given in the gray section, while here it is below on the white section. I do not know whether that matters much to people. Then of course there are smaller things like already written in kanji, and here not much is there. We have the mini month given over here. Here what matters are the alphabets of the days given in English, while here it is not. And when we come to the actual weekly vertical as such, I feel that the numbers are almost of the same size. The difference is frankly in the fact that the day is mentioned in a little more larger font than in comparison to the one in Japanese, which is a little small. Okay, so with that we are done with the weekly spread. The rest of it is the same. The next spread is actually a spread called Turning the Page to a New Year. Now as far as this spread is concerned, I won't be showing you the Japanese version because I've already used it and there is personal information on that, but I'll just go through the differences for you. The top part largely remains the same. Even in the Japanese version, they have Turning the Page to a New Year. There is no Japanese included on that section. The only difference is at the bottom. So there are these mini calendars over here. So one is for December of the previous year and the other is for Jan of the current year that you are using the planner in. So the only difference that is there, as always, is the fact that here we have all these days of the week, okay, clearly given in English, while in the Japanese version it is in Japanese, of course, not in English. Now then we come to the actual daily spreads. Now before every daily spread there is of course the dashboard page as such. I will just open to a dashboard page so I can show you the dashboard page and we can make a comparison between both. Now here there is a significant difference, okay. The numbers are more or less, I would say, similar, but there are differences. You can clearly see both are the number 1, okay, but this one in Japanese is extremely large in comparison to this that you see here, which is a little shorter. And the reason is simply because they have highlighted the name of the month in big block letters as such, while here the name of the month is shorter. But yes, both are in English, as you can see over here. Here there's a cleaner look because this is not there, which is a quote. Now this year into 2023 in the Japanese version, they have something at the bottom this time instead of on the top. But the good thing in English is that no matter what they have written in the Japanese version, be it at the bottom or the top, there is nothing on the English version. So it is left completely blank for you to use. I feel it is good. I guess I'm happy that it is blank. It gives me more space to be creative. But maybe some people would have preferred a quote instead. I do not know, but that is how it is as far as the English version is concerned, that it is completely blank. Then we come to the actual daily spreads as such. Now as far as the dailies are concerned, major difference here is the quote at the bottom. So here you can see that the quotes are something you are not able to read unless you know to read this language as such. Of course, if you know to read it, it is very good for you. Here, thankfully, it is in English, which I am quite happy to note, because I was always bothered by the fact that I couldn't read it, not heavily, but I wanted to read it. So here I will be really interested in reading it when I start using this planner next year. So I'm glad it is in English as such. Then the next thing you can see over here is the fact that the mini calendars again have obviously the names of the days, the letters given in English, while here it is not the same. Then the rest is more or less the same again, except for this section where you have here the month number given in a smaller font, while here you can see that it is directly the month name which is given over here. Now this is also something I would say I really enjoy over this one, because at times I used to get confused by the numbers. I know I'm being silly as such, it is not that difficult to guess, but I would actually prefer the name of the month to be there on the daily spread, which was not there in the Japanese version. So I enjoy the fact that I can clearly see the month name over here along with the date and of course the current day given over here. Now that is also another difference. Here the day is quite big in font, while here it's extremely small. Okay, you can barely see it, it's very small. So I think I definitely prefer this over this version. And of course there is also the fact that all this writing is not there over here in the English version, but of course you can see this still maintained over here, the moon cycle, I do not know, or is it the sun? But yes, that does not interest me, but the fact that it is there does not bother me as well. Now let's come towards the last pages. Now generally there are memo pages at the back for the cousin. I will put up the exact number on the screen, or let me see whether I'll just count them as well. What I noticed this year is that the cousin in the English version seems to have more memo pages than the one in Japanese. Not many more, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, the English version has about 8 to 9. I'll just put it up on the screen. I think the Japanese version had around 2 less than the English version as such, which I found to be interesting. I do not know why, but all English versions, even the Weeks, has the same situation where there are more memo pages in the English version. Not by many pages, but a few pages as such. Then we come towards the last pages of the planner, which are all those printed pages that are there. There are a few changes. Now the timetable has more or less remained the same in format. The only difference is that you can actually read what is written on top, okay, the instructions that are given on the top, which you cannot over here. Obviously if you know to read the language, you know that. Then again it's the same thing, you can read the days of the week because they are on a larger font. The same is there here as well in English, but it's on a smaller font. So yes, that's the same at the bottom as well. Now when we come to the next page, you have a graph paper. Again the same thing, you can read the instruction at the top because here it's in English, here it is not in the Japanese version. Then we have the favorites page, again English, Japanese over here. The rest of it is the same because they are icons, okay, there's no written information given there. Then we have the My 100 page. There has been a difference this time in the My 100 page, as you can see. Yes, one is of course the fact that this section is given in English. Other than that, it has been spread out with more space to write. Okay, you can see that it is on 2 spreads, okay, instead of 1, which I feel is a better option, even though considering the fact that I never used it, I do not know why I'm commenting on that, but it is your personal preference. I would love to hear your opinion about it. Then we have this thing called My Favorite Things. This was not actually there before, okay, this is something new that has been added, which is called My Favorite Things. Now whether this stays or not is to be seen, because often I've noticed that Hobonichi every year they change what is included in the notes pages at the back. So this has to be seen whether it stays or not. And here we have a spread on how to enjoy conversation, okay. I will probably read this at some point when I start using the planner, thankfully, since it's in English. Now the issue with the Japanese one was all this information is there, but I can't read it because I don't understand it. So this, I think at least I can read it. So we will see how that works out. Then there is the spread called Words to Remember with boxes given over here. Again, all of this is new in comparison to the previous planner as well as the current one, in fact. I really like this one. It's called a 365 days checkoff sheet. I have no plans as of now on how to use this. If you have any suggestions, please let me know, because I find this really interesting. I would really love to use this, but I do not have any particular ideas for this one. Maybe a reading tracker, whether I read every day. I'm not really sure about it, but I think it's pretty good. Then this congratulations at the end. This is also nice. Gift list to from the date that you're giving it, what you have given, any additional notes as such. And of course, this is also there in the Japanese version. Not a major difference except for the fact that you have this written in English over here, as well as the titles, which were not really clear last year. Okay, as you can see, the to and from was in English, but then we did not understand what was given as in the titles. I really did not use this, so it did not heavily bother me. But then, since it is in English this time, I'm just wondering whether I will use it now. It makes me wonder whether the reason why I didn't use these back pages at all were because they were in Japanese, or is it just that I'm not really interested in them at all. So it would be really interesting to see next year what I do about all these pages. So do you all generally use these pages, or is it just me who is just skipping on them? I don't use them at all. I didn't use them the previous year as well. Now there are all these extra pages over here, but let's come to the common one. There is this page called the address page. Okay, it's for 8 people. Same thing over here. I've never used this because see, all the info that they've given over here is in a language I don't understand, but here it's all clearly given in English, so I can probably use this. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure I will not use the address page at all. In this modern world, this is not likely to be used by me for addresses as such. Then we come to the last important page, which is of course the personal notes. This I would have probably used, but I did not understand it last year. This year, thankfully, I can think of using it. So I would love to hear your views on whether you are going to go with the English version or the Japanese version for next year, or would you prefer to stick to the old version, whether you can read it or not. I know that some people can read it and would prefer to use the old version instead of going to the new one as such. I'm on the fence about it. I've obviously got the English version for next year, but I can give a better review once I complete using it. I have not really gone into it, so far the mini version is simply the fact that I enjoy the cleaner look of the English cousin over this one, and the fact that I can read most of the information as far as the daily quotes are concerned, and also the pages at the back. But then I'd never had a huge problem with the Japanese version. I was totally fine with it. So I guess it depends on your preference. You can continue to use this because you understand what is written over there, whether it's completely in English or not, and you know how to use it. And here also there's not much of Japanese, but there are kind of small appearances here and there which may not make you miss the old version much. So I guess that is up to you. And yes, let's move on ahead to the weeks versions now. Now for the weeks for next year, I have got the sneaker, in fact. Okay, so I have got the red sneaker. I think it's called Vermilion, I'm not sure. And this is a weeks mega from 2022, which I had not used at all. I actually have the regular weeks, but I'm using them and I don't want to share that one, so I thought I would use this one for a comparison. Now the mega, very interestingly, I never noticed it before, the sneaker mega has the same price as the lowest price for the regular weeks, which I found to be very interesting. So the regular weeks are very expensive when it comes to the different designs that are there, but when it comes to the sneaker, despite having so many extra notes pages, it has the same price as the the plain ones, the hardbound ones or the white line ones in the regular weeks, even when they have lesser pages than this one. Anyway, I'm I'm just deviating from the topic unnecessarily. Let's come back to the topic at hand. So both are weeks mega versions, but of course you can understand the differences whether it's a regular or a weeks. Now, one thing that I noticed, in short, a major difference is that the notes pages in the weeks English have more pages in comparison to the one in the weeks Japanese. That is something that goes for both the regular one as well as the mega. I will try to put up on the screen somewhere the exact details, the change in the notes pages, so that it is clear to you. Of course, it is just a difference of a few pages, not a lot of it, to be truthful as such. Just like when we dealt with the cousin earlier, we will begin with the calendar. As you can see, all this information, I've never understood what it is because it's all like this. I don't get it at all. But this time in the 2023 version, they have given you an important date section and a lot of blank lines for you to complete as such. Then there is always the current calendar, the previous and the next one, which are clearly titled in English this time. And as I said, for the cousin, all the month names have been written, unlike on the Japanese version where just the number is given, not the name as such. And also the days, the alphabets are in English. There is also a lot of clear space here and here because all this writing is not there on the English version as such. Then when we come to the index, we have the month names in English very clearly written, while on the Japanese version the numbers are given importance. Of course, the months are mentioned, but they are extremely small as such. Same applies for all the days mentioned. Okay, in the English version, if you cannot see it clearly, the days are clearly given in the English alphabets, and that is not obviously the case for the Japanese version. Then when we come to the monthly spreads, okay, so very importantly, again, the month name has been highlighted in the gray box, okay, but here you can see that it is just the number. The month name has been given towards the bottom, very small, not the main highlight as such, and all this writing which is avoided over here, which makes me quite happy. The number is given here as well, which is not given much importance. I prefer the name, so I'm quite happy with that. Then the titles, again, I feel that they are more or less on the same side, surprisingly. I do not know whether any of you find a difference in the font of the days of the week. I think it's more or less the same thing. The font size is kind of smaller for the Japanese or the kanji that is given there, but here I feel it's bigger in the Japanese version. But the days of the week in English seems more or less the same. I don't see a huge difference over there. Now when it comes to the actual days over here, like I said earlier, holidays have not been given in the English version. Similarly, all this writing towards the right hand side has been skipped on the English version, giving it a more cleaner look. Now let's go ahead directly to the weekly spread. Before going to the weekly spread, I'm just showing you how the holidays are highlighted in the monthly spread for the Japanese version. So you can see that it is extremely light, but it is there. And also the days, the boxes are kind of, in the red color, which I'm happy is not there in the monthly spreads of the weeks. Now when we come to the weekly spreads, let's randomly open one. Okay, again the month is given importance over here. As you can see, it's quite big. Okay, and then you have the number 2023, and of course the letter given over here still, and second week is clearly mentioned. It's more or less the same over here. You have the number, the week number mentioned over here, but here you can see that the number is given importance. It's quite bigger. The month has been mentioned, but it is very small. It's in English, but it is very small. And of course there is all this writing which has been skipped on the English version. Then when we come to this side, it starts with the number which seems like the same size to me. I do not know whether this is just me. I feel that the font is quite darker this year. Okay, when it comes to the English version, you can see that the font is very dark. Last year seemed a lot lighter. Maybe it is just me. But yes, as always, the days of the week are in a little bit of a larger font compared to last year's, which is very small. I'm quite happy with the large font that is shown over here instead over here. And lastly, we have the quotes at the bottom clearly in the English where you can read it. Okay, on both sides you can see that you can clearly read it. Same goes for the mini months. The days are clearly given in the English alphabets, unlike over here, which is not a big difference, but yes, I'm quite happy that I can read it as such. Now let's go to the memo pages that are there. Memo pages, as you know, usually begin with a small intro page first. Let me open to that. Okay. Okay. So here we are. I knew what these were because there were English translations for this one, but I'm glad I'm able to read the top section also because it is given in English. This is more or less the same thing as last year, just that there are clear English words given throughout the page. The right hand side is the same. There's no difference from the Japanese version to the English version. Then we come to the actual notes pages. Of course, there's no difference to mention over here because the notes pages or the memo pages are blank. They are as always numbered. Then the only difference is there in the number of pages, which I had mentioned earlier, that the English version has more pages this time. Again, when we come to the pages at the back with the info, clearly it's all been translated into English this time, as you can see over here. Okay. Which was not the case last year, and I used to generally ignore all of this. I don't use any of it. Then we have the favorites page in English, which I don't see in the Japanese version. Then we have the my 100 page with the English intro right on top. Then we have my favorite things, which has been added to the English version. Here we have a lot of Japanese info which clearly we can't read. So that goes on for a long amount of time, as you can see. So I used to skip all of this. I used to never really bother with them. I don't understand what these numbers are. They were just there. So let's come towards the last pages. Again, these spreads I had already shown to you in the cousin. How to better enjoy a conversation, 365 days checkoff sheet. Please give me more ideas for this one. And then we have address. Okay. Japanese, of course, completely in the English version, so you can understand what is written. Then we come to the last page where you have your personal information, thankfully given in English, so you can actually understand what is written over here. So with that, we come to the end of the flip through for the English version as well. So if you have any other questions that I probably skipped on, went through quickly, did not understand, please mention it in the comments below and I'll get back to you on that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear from you on what you prefer to continue to use from the Hobonichi, whether it's the Japanese version or the English version. What are you going with for next year? For me, it is definitely the English version that I've decided to go with for next year. How much I enjoy it depends. I have to see that. So far, I like the idea of the English version more than the Japanese. But in case I missed out on mentioning anything as far as the differences are concerned, you can definitely pick that up because I do not have the new version, that is the Japanese version of 2023. But so in case I missed out on anything, you can let me know about it. I would love to know that if there were more differences. So what do you prefer from after seeing both the videos? I would love to hear from you. So see you all in the next video, guys. Till then, bye.